Wow. What a beautiful time of year this is. This is probably my favorite time of year because it's a season where we get to pause and savor the gifts of faith, family, and friends. And Christmas to me has a magic to it, right? It has its way of reminding us what truly matters in life. The gift of our Savior himself and the opportunity that we have to receive him and the abundant life he longs to give each and every one of us. As many of you know, our ministry is rooted in being the hands and feet of Jesus, standing outside abortion facilities to offer mothers in crisis real help, hope, options, and resources. And this radical love has led to more than 25,000 lives saved in just 11 years. I mean, wow, again, that is miraculous because when I was given the vision for Sidewalk Advocates for Life, I never dreamed that we would be at this place with these victories at this point in our history. Again, nothing short of amazing, and to God the glory for that. To me, this mission is the epitome of Christmas, of the incarnation. At Christmas, we celebrate Christ coming among us and becoming one of us, God made flesh, walking with his people, not in condemnation of his people or against his people, but walking with his people to lead them home to heaven. And in that spirit, Sidewalk Advocates walk in his footsteps. They aim to be the hands and feet of Jesus, showing up with his love right where it's needed the most. Indeed, Sidewalk Advocates stand at the greatest crossroads of life and death in our world today, the sidewalk in front of our local abortion facility. Because if it's true that abortion is the greatest cause of death in the history of the world, and it is, then that means that we are the last line of defense in the greatest human rights movement on earth. And I don't say that as any point of pride for myself, but to recognize so many of you that have gone to these dark places and offered love and light and peace and hope and transformed the darkest place in your community into one of possibility as a gateway, not only to the loving, life-affirming alternatives in your community, but to the abundant life that he so wants to give us. You know, I was thinking about this message, and I was reminded of a real particular memory on the sidewalk just before Roe versus Wade was overturned. I was on the sidewalk in Louisville, Kentucky, a very famous, notorious abortion facility right in the heart of Louisville. And I remember standing on the sidewalk with one of our fellow national team members and Sidewalk Advocates, Jeff. Jeff was an old college friend of me and my husband and a friend of the ministry who sometimes traveled with us national team members to assist at events or help out on the sidewalk from time to time. And Jeff made it known that he was the prayer support, right? You could even say he was kind of like the bodyguard in some ways. He watched out for us women on the sidewalk. But he made it known that he was not really, he'd been through a training. He was not really per se a sidewalk advocate, that he felt very called to prayer support. And that's awesome. Many of you feel that way, right? But he also made it known that he was there to help really as needed. And I remembered encountering a father at the Louisville facility. His girlfriend and her mom had kind of, blown through the front door. Mom, or the grandmother of the preborn child, was the one seemingly running the show, really pushing her daughter to go through with this. The daughter was very much, though, complicit, right? I didn't get the feeling that it was any sort of illegal coercion. But as we all know, many abortion decisions are just enveloped by pressure from every side. And this father seemingly was like along for the ride, trying to figure this all out. And I just remember the three of them going inside. And at one point, the father exits. And I won't use his real name, although I'll never forget it. I'll call him Jay. And Jay comes out. And I just remembered he started to sit down on the curb next to the sidewalk. And I just had a moment where I was looking around at all these people who were protesting with angry signage, and there's a street preacher, and there were people just doing a whole hodgepodge of weird things. And of course, I was there, as a sidewalk advocate to offer options and resources and help. And I just thought, man, this is such a moment, right? And I just remembered quietly kneeling down and introducing myself and saying something along the lines of, "Hey, I'm Lauren. I know you guys must be here because you're in a tough spot, but I want you to know we have real help and hope for you guys today. And we've got a pregnancy center right next door that can help with X, Y, and Z. And, here's all the amazing things we can do for you guys. I'd love to hear your story. Like, what is it that brings you guys here today?" And he started to kind of get into it a little bit. And I found out that his girlfriend was inside getting ready to take the 2-pill chemical abortion regimen. And for those of you who are familiar with that process, usually, at least at the time, would take the first pill in clinic. And that pill blocks progesterone, which is the pregnancy hormone. It feeds the baby, it sustains the baby, and this pill steals it from the woman's body. And usually then you would take the second pill at home and she would expel, right? It would cause like something akin to a violent miscarriage, if you can even call it that. And so she was inside getting ready to do this, and he seemed really understandably distraught about it. This was his baby. And so I let him know about the pregnancy center next door and everything again that we could do for him. And I even offered him an opportunity to walk next door with me and to talk to the pregnancy center. And so for the first time in like over 20 years on the sidewalk, right, I walked a father alone over to the pregnancy center. Like usually I do it as a couple or it's the woman alone, right? But in this case, for different reasons, it felt right to just go have him hear that what I was saying was true. And sure enough, he met with that pregnancy coach or counselor next door, probably was in there about 15 minutes. And he comes out and he's got like a fire in his belly, right? And he decides that he's going to go inside and tell her about all this help that I had offered, that the pregnancy center was offering. I think he was inside like 15-ish minutes. And all of a sudden he comes blowing out. And he can't even look at me. It's like he walks out those doors so overwhelmed, not looking at anybody, goes right across the street, goes down the sidewalk, and he's walking towards this side parking lot. And my understanding was the abortion facility had kind of a deal with one of these city parking lots, right? So anyways, he when he came out the door, I'm trying to read his body language. I'm putting all this together that he's upset. Like he must have tried to go ahead and offer this help, and she just wasn't having any of it. She wasn't having any of it. And he was so distraught that he couldn't save his baby, at least at that moment. And so, I call out to him, "Hey, Jay, hey, buddy, tell me what's going on," right? And I'm trying to kind of very carefully follow after him, but also kind of give him some space. And I just remember him going into this parking lot, and I stop at the edge of the parking lot because, if I go onto that property and it is shared with the abortion facility, I could have been in the disposition of a trespasser, even though, what we were doing that day was so much more than being a trespasser. It's being a friend. It's offering hope and help, right? But anyways, and I remember him pulling out a golf club from the car, like watching him pull this big golf club out. And I literally have a human moment. And I think to myself, oh my gosh, I'm going to die of blunt force trauma here at the Louisville, Kentucky abortion facility, right? He's kind of looking at me, but he's kind of not. And I just remembered after that kind of initial fear passed, I watched him walk the other direction away from me. And I watched him take that golf club, so upset, and he began to mercilessly beat the side of a tree. And then he turned to a box on the ground and began to beat the crud out of that as well. And I just remember having a moment thinking, wow, like this guy is so hurt. He's so angry. He doesn't even know what to do right now. So broken that he can't save his child right now. And I got a clue pretty quickly that I was not supposed to be the person to tell him about this opportunity called abortion pill reversal. For those who are headed into the abortion facility, or maybe they come out and they smoke a cigarette or they were under the car or whatever. Sometimes there's an opportunity there, but wherever we can, we try to let people know that if they're considering the 2-pill chemical abortion regimen, especially if they've already taken the first pill, that there's an opportunity to reverse it by supplementing the progesterone that the first pill has stolen from the woman's body. This is a beautiful opportunity offered by Heartbeat International, one of the largest pregnancy center systems in the world. And I wanted to get that into his hands because I knew it would give him hope that maybe when his girlfriend's mom, who seemingly again was running the show, was kind of, away from the picture, then he and his girlfriend might have an opportunity to talk and they'd be able to reverse that decision. And so I remembered looking at him, reading the tea leaves here and going, hey man, let me give you some space. And I thought to myself, Jeff, this guy needs a guy right now. And so I go over to Jeff and I say, hey, Jeff, I think he needs a man. He's really upset. I explained what was happening with the golf club. Can you go find a way to slip this in his hands so at least he has it? He can call the hotline later. They can look up abortionpillreversal.com, right? And Jeff was like, yeah, I'm on it. And Jeff that day was the best sidewalk advocate. He went across the street. He walked over to the parking lot. He called Jay over and he said, hey, man, there's an opportunity here. Whatever she does inside, whatever happens and she's not listening to you, you'll have an opportunity later to talk to her about this opportunity, right? And he thanked Jeff and he took it. And I just remember after that long day serving on the sidewalk where we had talked to so many people and a woman at the very end had actually opened herself up to choosing life and going to a pregnancy center with us. Jeff turned to me and he said, Jesus sent the disciples out 2 by 2 to share the good news and to bring people abundant life. And this today, what we're doing, it hit me as living the gospel. And I'm pretty sure I turned back to Jeff with tears in my eyes and said, you get it. You get it. Jeff always wanted to be a dad. But instead, a couple years later, Jeff passed away. He actually never got married, never got a chance to get married. And it's hard to believe that he's been gone now over 1.5 years. But after he went home, it hit me that Jeff was a dad. He was a spiritual father to thousands of young mothers and babies that he had prayed for many years. He was one of our greatest prayer warriors in Sidewalk Advocates for Life. And what I saw in Louisville, he was one of the best sidewalk advocates I've ever seen. It can be just as simple as that simple act of love, putting a lifeline in somebody's hands, right? But Jeff's words struck me that day because they captured the heart of our mission and our ministry so simply and so powerfully. And that's really, to me, what Christmas is all about. The good news of a Savior who comes close, who continues to come close, who brings hope and light and life to dispel the darkness. My prayer this season is that each of us allows Christ to be reborn again in our hearts, renewing our courage to love deeply and to serve boldly. We have such an opportunity here at the end of the year to be the hands and feet of Jesus through our time, talent, and treasure. Some of you can get to the sidewalk. Maybe you're thinking about starting a sidewalk advocate location in front of your local abortion or abortion referral center. Maybe you are somebody that's already doing this. I know so many of us, maybe the vast majority of us, are praying all the time for lives to be saved, souls to be saved, and for an end to abortion. And then some of us, because of our particular vocation or station in life, we can't get to the sidewalk, but we can give of our precious treasure. And so I wanted to let you know before I close today of one more opportunity to come alongside a mother in crisis and to help save a life. We at Sidewalk Advocates for Life have been gifted a super unique opportunity, something called a bonus fund campaign challenge. In other words, we have to hit a certain goal, a certain, amount in order to unlock a special bonus grant from generous ministry partners. And I'll tell you at this moment, we are really short. So if you're somebody that's looking at all your financials here at the end of the year and you're like, man, I really do have something to give. Maybe it's $50, maybe it's $500. We're definitely going to need some more gifts of $5,000 and $25,000 in order to make it. In short, I just invite you to consider maybe giving also of your precious treasure to be a part of what God is doing to save lives and to end abortion through his people. Your generosity absolutely allows us to reach more mothers, save more babies, cover more abortion facilities, and to share the love and light of Christ in places where it's needed the most. So if that's you, I invite you to go to sidewalkadvocates.org/donate. Again, that's sidewalkadvocates.org/donate, where you can make a tax-deductible, life-saving gift of support. All in all, I just want to thank you so much for being here with me, for listening. And I know for many of you, the holidays aren't easy. For some of you, this is the first holiday without a loved one, or this is a holiday where you find yourself a little bit more financially strapped, or you just feel like you're enveloped in darkness. And wherever you find yourself, my prayer for you today is that Jesus would come so close to you that you would feel his presence, feel his life, feel his light, and that it would just begin to lift that darkness, helping you to realize that you are not alone, that you matter and your voice matters. Period, end of story. And also in this great battle for lives and souls, we need you. You are part of a great army of light. There are people that you can reach that I can't. And if there's anything that leading Sidewalk Advocates for Life has taught me, it's that I cannot do this alone. We need you. You're important. You're here for a reason. And so I want you to keep fighting, and I want you to keep fighting the good fight, knowing that Jesus is leading us to victory. And one day, this battle that we see here on this earth, the clash sometimes of good and evil, and the confusing and beyond, that he will redeem all this. He already is. He's already moving. And just by us giving him our yes, by us showing up at these dark places, by us bringing his light out to the sidewalk, that's enough to start changing the game. I see it every single day at these super dark places. When God's people show up, it is a game changer. And if you don't believe me, I'd love for you to talk to a former abortion worker. So many of these former workers tell us that, when the people on the sidewalk felt like nothing was happening, that's actually when the most was happening. And if we can just kind of hang in there and trust and do our part and allow God to do his, and relinquish control, I believe that that's where we're going to see the most miracles. So keep doing what you're called to do. From my heart to yours, I wish you and your loved ones a truly blessed and joyful Christmas. Merry Christmas, everybody.